Oui. J'en profite, hein, je fais un petit peu du jardinage, je fais des trucs à la maison, bon, je bois quand même pas mal. Et j'ai regardé toutes les vidéos de tastings et ils sont tous bien assurés quand même. Hein. Alors du coup, je pense que si on faisait tout en français, ce serait bien. Hein. Ça aiderait un petit peu tout le monde. Donc si tu veux, on va boire un coup.
Oui, oui. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Hi, everyone.
Oh.
Hi,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Hi. Yes. My name's Carrie. I'm with Tastings Wine Shop, and today I have with me Michael from Barrique. Today we're drinking Southern Rhone wines. So we're headed to France, and we're going to learn all about the Rhone Valley, the Southern Rhone Valley, with Michael here. So Michael, want to go ahead and get us started?
Definitely. So tonight, for the theme, I chose Southern Rhone as the region, which is a sub-region of the Rhone region, which is southern France. It's kind of split in two, and so Northern Rhone, of course, and Southern Rhone. Southern Rhone is very highly dominated by Grenache, as opposed to the Northern Rhone, which is dominated by Syrah. And Grenache, to me, is just an amazing grape. It's a grape that's very often underrated. It's a grape that just goes with pretty much everything, and it's a very popular grape in Spain, as you might have heard it as Garnacha. And I think it's just a very, very good introduction to red wine. It's very approachable, it's usually very well priced, and it's a grape that actually adapts itself to whatever occasion, meaning you could have a very light meal and Grenache is great, so like a basic Côte du Rhône or like a Côte du Rhône village, like we'll try tonight. And you can have like more serious food, up to like game and to like, rabbit or whatever you want to do with it. And like a Gigondas and a Châteauneuf-du-Pape would just be perfect for that. And Grenache to me is also flexible with fish. I know that very often people like fish, but they still like their red wines, and so Pinot Noir is usually kind of like the direction they go to. But I want people to look at Grenache, and Sirdahi tuna and a nice bottle of Grenache I think is fantastic as well. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I am ready.
Buvons un coup.
Yes.
So we have 4 different wines tonight. We'll start with the Broad family. Broad family is actually a 5th generation family-owned, family-operated winery. And the mom is the winemaker currently. Yeah, let's do that. So this is the Château de Bord Laudun. Laudun is actually a village. So this is, in the classification of the Rhone wines, you've got your basic AOC, so you like your Côte du Rhônes. And then you can go to like a basic Côte du Rhône village. And then you can have a Côte du Rhône village that actually has a name attached to it. So that's the case in this particular wine. It is from one particular village. And it is, of course, a majority of Grenache. All of these wines will be, with usually a little bit of Syrah and sometimes Mourvèdre and other grapes. But we'll get into that with Châteauneuf. So this is their own estate. They acquired the estate several years back. Very nice family. They are based in the town of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And they are just very nice, and they cover the whole appellation of Rhone. So they do like Northern Rhone wines. So they act as a grower and a negociant as well. So they have their own vineyards in this case, for example, and they also purchase grapes from other growers. So the Laudun, which is what I picked tonight, to me is just a fantastic wine in the sense that it's got a little bit more body, a little bit more depth, and also a little bit more masculine notes to it, meaning it's got just a little bit more power behind it, as opposed to another wine of theirs, which is carried here at Tastings, the Rhone, which is another village, which to me is a little bit more feminine, so a little bit more rounded, a little bit more polished, and of course being more masculine, it's just kind of like rough around the edges. It's just got a little bit more.
This is a great starter bottle to me.
It is. It is a fantastic bottle, and I think it, like I said earlier, it goes with everything. You know. You can have it with just kind of like cheese and bread. You can have it with some pâtés, whether it's rillette or any kind of pâtés. You can have it with like pork, with fish. You can have it with whatever you have in front of you, with pizza, with, it's really like your very versatile kind of wine.
Yeah, it's a good starter bottle, I think, for people who are maybe a little bit afraid to start venturing into those Rhone wines. I think this is very just pleasing
and I think you nailed it on the head here. I mean, very often people are kind of leery about French wines. They don't know much about it. The label is intimidating. They don't know what to do with them. And so the price point of that wine is just, it's awesome. And what's in the bottle is fantastic. And so it's a really good kind of gateway to like learning about French wines and about that region without necessarily having to like spend a whole lot
Spend
of
the money, yeah.
and just put a big risk into it. I mean, there's
Yep.
just nothing to like.
Yeah,
feel
and
about that
it
wine.
definitely over delivers for the price point, in my opinion. It is cooking beautifully.
I would agree.
For that price.
I mean, it's got some really nice dark fruit.
Mm-hmm.
It's got just a nice acid to it, but not overwhelming. It's got some good tannins, but there again, they're just not overwhelming.
Mm-mm.
It's just a fantastic bottle for like an everyday drinking.
Yep, it is. Yep.
And I know that Tom talked
We don't
about.
have a spit cup.
We don't have a spit cup. Well,
We
not
don't
too
have a
bad.
spit cup. Or a dump cup.
A dumb cup.
Oh, yes, we have to drink.
So I know that Tom was talking about everyday wines last week, and I think that falls under that category. You know, you can have that
yes, yeah.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah,
and just be
absolutely.
totally happy with that.
Yeah, this is definitely a weekday Rhone bottle to me. I agree.
Exactly.
Beautiful wine.
So good. So now we're going to go into another broad wine, and we're going to go into the broad Baccarat. Baccarat is another village, another little sub-appellation in southern Rhone. And this is, there again, majority Grenache. And you'll see the map probably, they're very close to each other.
Yeah.
They're all like within just a few miles, really.
Yeah.
And yet they're very different. Baccarat is known to have a different kind of soil. So it's a little bit more like clay soil, and the wine kind of shows a little bit differently. It's got a little bit more minerality. It's got just a little bit more spice to it.
Yeah.
And by the way, Broad was started in like the 1930s. I think it was 1936. So right before the war. The story has it that Grandpa even planted some of the Châteauneuf-du-Pape vineyards using dynamite left behind by the Germans. So
Oh, wow.
I always think it's like the coolest use
Yeah.
of like dynamite.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, at least the Germans did that for us. You know.
If anything.
Left us something
Oh my
to dig
God.
holes in granite. So that's fantastic. So this is majority Grenache again, and like I said, it's going to be very different from the Laudun. The Laudun has like a little bit more that masculinity going for it. And this one has just a little bit more acid, a little bit
Yeah.
more baking spice,
Yeah, I get this. It's
more of a red fruit, I think. And I think that really comes from the soil that it's grown on,
Yeah.
just more of that clayish
There's some
red,
savory
red
notes
clay.
in here to me too.
I would agree
Some,
too
like,
with that. So
olivey thing going on.
Yeah, a little bit
I
more
get a lot
olives.
Of olive. Yeah, I get a lot of
Yeah,
olive on
that
all
black
of these
olive.
notes, but yeah,
So,
I definitely.
you know,
get
and
it.
if you think about it, like Southern Rhone is still like somewhat part of the Mediterranean. It's like Mediterranean climate. And so you have the same kind of notes. I mean, you think of olive trees, that's like definitely Mediterranean. Very often you would think about garrigue, or you'll see garrigue being referenced as a descriptor for Rhone wines. And garrigue, in case you're wondering, is all the plants that wildly grow on the hillside. So it could be like thyme, wild thyme.
Now we know what
and
that
things of
means.
nature. Just like here we have the sagebrush. Think about that, but just like in that particular area, it's like the indigenous bushes that grow on the hills.
Yeah.
So that's that item of the garrigue.
Yeah, I get that.
So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's very expressive. It's very reminiscing of like the Mediterranean. In fact, when you get to Lyon and south, it's considered the south of France. It's once you get there, you're in the south. So
And I know you guys can't see this again, but it is a very pretty, like ruby red color. I think it's very pretty in the glass.
it is absolutely delicious,
Yeah,
and it's so easy to drink too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Could be like-
Yeah, it is dangerous actually.
Could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Right there. In fact, I think I still have some croissants at home. So
You
Right
love
up
your
to you.
croissants.
I love my croissants. Oh, who doesn't like croissant?
I guess, yeah, that's true.
I
I,
mean,
love
come on.
croissants.
No croissant. You know what
I
I do
just,
to
I
my
don't
kids?
think I've ever been around you and you didn't mention a croissant.
Well, I mean, it's a French thing, you know. I try to get my kids used to like croissants too. So I cut them and I put Nutella in them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
That's classic. It's
Yeah,
delicious.
that's classic.
So
I still eat that all the time.
So that was our own broad. So family owned, family operated, which is awesome. 5 generations. We had Thibaut Broad here once a few years back, and he was super awesome, and so great times. And the wines have been just extremely consistent.
Yeah,
So
they are.
2 really good options. Now we're getting into something a little bit more serious.
Yeah, this is a cool
More into like the
wine.
cruise, what would be considered the cruise of the Southern Rhone. And so we're starting with Gigondas, and that is an old estate that is owned by the Quillot family, and the Quillot family has been around since the mid-1700s. So it's got just a little bit of history.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You know, and they've been acquiring like different estates within the Rhone, and they also have one in Provence.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
so Domaine Rouchard is actually there as well in Provence. And so Gigondas is a small area, and it's known mainly for a small range of mountains called the Dentelle de Montmirail. It's pretty cool name. And the Dentelle is basically because it's very jaggedy, but it's like a fairly low mountain range. And it kind of protects the vineyards a little bit, depending on where you're at. It protects it from rain, from the elements, so it creates its own little microclimate.
I love that.
And this particular wine, it's actually a blend of different vineyards throughout Gigondas.
Okay.
And Gigondas is majority of reds. There's apparently a little bit of rosé grown there, but the rest of it is red. And I've never seen a rosé Gigondas.
Is that maybe why they're doing some wines in Provence too, so they can kind of...
So they can have some rosés.
They can have some rosé.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you look at Gigondas, they make a little rosé, but no whites at all. And I don't think they've been making any whites since like the 1700s. So very interesting.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Chateauneuf, like 95% of the production in Chateauneuf is red, 5% is white, and rosé is actually not allowed at all. So, you know, there's only one little area in the Rhone called Tavel, which is actually only rosé in Tavel. So. But so yeah, Gigondas is basically like known for the Dentelle de Montmirail, heavy on the Grenache as well, and has a potential for aging, but not like 20 years or so. It's usually just about like a 10-year kind of span, and just a wine that has a little bit more pepper usually.
Yeah.
And just some really nice juicy dark fruits.
Yeah, it's juicy and dark fruits to me.
And it's got like almost a velvety kind of component to it, like a brownness in the mouth, which is like really based on the fruit. It's not so much that it's got like high viscosity, it's just that fruit is kind of lingering.
Yeah. And it's still dry. Like I know sometimes we say juicy and they don't think that it's very dry. It's still dry. It still has some tannin on it. But it does just fill your mouth.
This is absolutely delicious. I mean, at this point, you're kind of getting into like just, more profound wines. I mean, you really have to kind of dig a little bit, and they keep just developing as you open them. If you decant them, they keep changing. Yeah. And that's the beauty of those wines.
Yeah, that's why I love wine in general.
And think about like, I don't know, just a seared high tuna, like a peppered seared high tuna with this. I think it'd be just fantastic. Really good, you know? For some reason, like seared ahi and Grenache, I think is just a great combination.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, you should. It's really good.
I'll have to try that.
Or even with sushi, I think Grenache is fantastic. So.
Michael's a big Grenache lover. I love Grenache too, but I've never met somebody who fanboys so hard.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the Rhone, and I'm a big fan of Bordeaux. Yeah. Those are my two favorite kind of areas, and I just love the wines, but for different reasons. And,
I mean, these wines are great, so I totally get it. Yeah. Totally get it.
I mean, I remember like buying bottles of Côte d'Iron when I was in college, and that was what I was drinking for the most part. So.
Oh, nice. Well,
that was a little bit more
advanced, It
was a long time ago.
I was buying Grenache in college. I was drinking
that and French Malbec too, because it was cheap. So, I was a college student once. So now we're off to the Chateau du Vieux-Lazaret, which is a Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So a lot of people heard of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, probably more than Gigondas. And Châteauneuf-du-Pape has a big history. Yeah. It's got a cool name, but sometimes people just have a hard time pronouncing. So it's Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
There you go.
Which translates into New Castle of the Pope. And that dates back to the 14th century. That much.
That's old.
Yeah, that's old. A little bit
that's old.
Prior to me.
That's a long time.
And so basically the papacy went to France a couple of times, and it was like the 14th century. So early 1400s and then mid 1300s. Okay. Two different popes actually lived in the area, and they had a castle built up in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, up on top of the hill. The castle is actually still standing for the most part.
Yeah, I've seen photos.
Yeah, there's photos out there, and I know it was the Germans during the war actually tried to destroy it, tried to just kind of implode it, and there's still some walls standing.
Can't do it.
So it's still there. It's definitely like kind of just the jewel of the Southern Rhone. I think everybody knows that. They're very special wines. They're aged very well. It can be a blend of up to 13 different grapes, although the majority has to be Grenache. And so you could have Mourvèdre, you can have some Cinsault, you can have some Syrah, all sorts of different things, including white grapes to make the red. But the majority of it is Grenache. And very often you'll see the crest on the front of the bottle. And even on Gigondas, you'll see a crest. They're like kind of embossed with either like the Pope's hat, sometimes you'll find keys, they're the keys to like the city, or like the castle. So that's an old tradition, and you can only produce Châteauneuf-du-Pape in the town of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Which, you know, you kind of see Châteauneuf and you're thinking, okay, yeah, big appellation, yada, yada, yada. It's only about like 3,000 people. It's a small village. So
that's so crazy to me every time I hear that. I'm like, what the heck?
And once, I mean, if you're like slightly outside of Châteauneuf-du-Pape or like the designated area, you're no longer Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Nope.
And so it's kind of like, you know, it's something very special, very limited, very regimented. And there again, that's an estate that's owned by the Quillot family. So they acquired this. I can't even remember the date, but they've been doing a really good job with that. And they picked the name de Lazaret because it's actually named after some monks, an order of monks called the Lazaris. And they were instrumental in helping people during the plague in Europe. So at this point of time, I thought it was like very fitting to have the Château du Vieux Lazaret and celebrate all of you out there on the front lines.
This is a great gift for any frontline worker, hero.
And it's an absolutely delicious wine. It's going to have a lot more grip to it, a little bit, some nice tannin, a little bit more of it's a little bit medium, a little bit more leather to it, a little tobacco, some animal qualities. This is definitely like a wine that you can age for a while, it'll last. And it's a wine that you can just open up and decant. And 2016 is a fantastic vintage in the Rhone.
Drinking so well. This is a delicious wine, definitely. I want to pick up a couple bottles of this myself and age it because I think this will age really well. And it's drinking so well that I actually have some ideas now for some food and wine pairings. Sarah might kind of want to do a food and wine pairing with this bottle. Anyway, so as a quick reminder, I do want to remind you that, again, all of these bottles are 15% off if you were to purchase all four together. And individually, they are 10% off. And don't forget, we are offering 10% off your whole order if you bring in those local delivery takeout receipts. So really killer deals going on over here, really killer wine. So yeah, and as our motto goes, Michael. Oh no, you're dry.
Sorry, I'm not wasting that.
No, cheers.
Cheers.
Life is too short to drink bad wine.
Stay healthy, Boise.
Boys and girls?
Boise.
Boise. Oh,
Boise.
I thought you just said boys.
Boys and girls.
But
mainly in Boise. Boise. Le jardinage peut-être.
Oui.
Le temps il est très très beau, donc il a fait soleil, c'est bien pour être dehors un petit peu.
Oui.
Et puis bon, entre deux, je bois un petit peu quand même, un petit peu trop peut-être, mais bon, il faut bien s'hydrater légèrement quand il fait chaud. Donc on boit un coup.
Je m'appelle Carrie.
Oui, je m'appelle Michael. Mais on s'est déjà rencontrés, tu sais. Et, allez, on va boire un petit verre ensemble. Allez.
Same.
Parfait.
Same.